The Banking Scene Director's Cut goes behind the scenes, sharing stories and insights to help you build the bank of tomorrow.
Welcome, Joris. You are the co-founder of Deutsche Bank's API program, and we go many years back. I think the first time was in 2020, first interview we had on open banking. This year, you spoke at our conference in Brussels. The year before, I believe, that was in Amsterdam. But in Brussels, you were one of the few bankers, I think the only banker, that was actually willing to take the stage to discuss FiDA. Back then, a highly political topic. Can you please help us understand what has changed since then in Europe?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Rick, for inviting me here. It's
No, it's my pleasure.
actually nice that I didn't realize that the first interview was in 2020. I think it was at the Money Live back then.
No, it was online.
Sorry, Money
I believe.
2020.
It may have been even 2019 or something. But that we first met in person must have been at FiDA or something, I think.
Yeah, I
But,
think
yeah.
so too. But it's actually
Quite some time
nice seeing this history of open banking, and
Yeah.
I think that was one of the reasons back then to take a stand for FiDA, because I think you can see it as a regulation or as an opportunity, and we as Deutsche Bank would like to approach it as an opportunity. And to your question, what I think has changed, I think it's the conversation. So we started with this initiative here in Frankfurt together with the TechQuartier that we call the FiDA roundtables. And you could see that more and more banks and insurances and tech companies, fintechs, they opened up to speak about the opportunities of FiDA. And there's more of a discussion of, okay, how can we actually collaborate, and how can we embrace this as an opportunity together? And I
A
think
bit the
that's
same
basically
spirit
the
as
change.
what happened with the Deutsche Bank API program in the very beginning, but a much broader scope.
Yeah, indeed. And this is also why we did this event, is because one of the big learnings back then is that it's super helpful to open up. So one of the first meetings we had as an API program back then was to understand what data the market would need or expect from us as a bank. We found this pretty helpful. And this was why we started this series of roundtables and also the event you attended, the FiDA Data Studios.
Yeah, that was very interesting. And I'm regretting not having seen the stage even more because apparently one of our Belgian national team players, Batshuayi, is currently playing at Frankfurt. But okay, that's another story. Very few to no banks actively engage with FiDA today. They probably have their reasons. But what was the goal of Deutsche Bank doing this event? Is it to get a better understanding from FiDA? Is it to get a stronger buy-in from the ecosystem or from the industry? Is it to get a better understanding of what the opportunities or risks are altogether? Or am I missing something there?
Well, I think the goal was simply to move from talking about FiDA to do something with it. So we had a couple of roundtables before this event where we touched topics like, okay, what does what imply for the banks and insurance? And then in one of the last roundtables, we moved to potential future scenarios and use cases. So the idea was to take this to the next level and to have real hands-on sessions to deal with the topics. So we came up with this idea of having 5 different tables to focus on topic like, for instance, FiDA and AI, the perfect match. What can you actually do with it? Well, what is the strategy side of FiDA? And we invited lots of experts from banks and insurances to work on these topics. And I would say,
but again, which intention?
With the intention. As a community, to develop insights, to develop, what could be tangible use cases, opportunities, to develop this joint sense of, these are the potential next steps. This is how I can take it forward within my institution to pitch it to senior management.
Yeah.
And to create this sense of awareness also within the community, also without the actually outside this bubble. This is why we did the evening event and also planned this event during Cybos, because we wanted to get executives to the event to understand what's happening with FiDA and what are the potential outcomes and opportunities. Because at the end of the day, I think that the experts involved know pretty well what is going to happen with FiDA. but it's also that we need to
I wonder,
emphasize
do
this
they?
in the boards.
Is it really on the strategic agenda already today in most
Well,
financial
what I say, like
institutions?
that's what I mean to say. It's probably not on the strategic agenda, but there are experts in the
Mm.
banks and insurances that are pretty enthusiastic about FiDA, that know very well what is going to happen with
Mm.
FiDA, but it's this next step. Okay. So how
Yeah,
do
and
you?
maybe it's also a matter of like not willing to show how much involved they already are. I recently had a talk with someone very involved in strategy of a bank, and out of the 5 topics, FIDA was one of them where they're actively looking at because it may have a potential significant impact on the way banks work today. Banks as well as insurance companies, by the way. But it remains very uncertain until we know whether Europe will go ahead with FIDA or not.
That's true. One of the participants at the event said, well, we don't have to wait for Brussels and the regulation. Today, there's already a lot we can do with the data, referring to how good do we use the data today? What do we do with the data today? But I think what you can say is that at least we can start to prepare for what could come with the regulation
That's
today.
where I would agree. You can start to prepare because getting started on your own island, I don't think that works. FIDA will only be successful if we all work on it, that you have a scheme that is understood and also supported by the entire industry. Because otherwise, if you're the only one sharing data, what data will you be able to consume yourself to make those valuable use cases? Like, for example, one of
Indeed.
them at your event was the 360-degree customer profile, which
Yep.
is not that revolutionary in my opinion. We had the discussion already with PSD2 and banking and open banking maybe 5 to 10 years ago. But of course, adding data points through FIDA from all kind of other silos within a bank, far beyond transactions and bank accounts, that can make a world of difference. In that respect, I thought the table that discussed the AI opportunities were very interesting. How do you look at this intersection of AI and FIDA?
Well, I think it's a very interesting opportunity and a perfect match because FiDA would provide structured and standardized data that AI can leverage. And I think that would make a big difference. And it's we would talk about way more data than with PSD2. With open banking, you find some premium APIs, but it's limited.
Yeah.
So having a huge amount of data and, as you said, across silos,
Yeah.
this would be very interesting. And if you start to develop insights, recommendations, help consumers with smarter decisions, I think
Yep.
that could really make a big difference for the consumer at the end of the day.
So you built an exciting event during Cybers. There were quite a lot of people, and I heard from other participants that there definitely were more banks than I witnessed, so that's a good thing. But as you look back, how do you evaluate the event?
I mean, you are organizing events yourself, right? So you know this feeling when just before the event, you don't know how many people will be sick or, I don't know, get lost on the way
Yeah.
to your event the place.
You
But
get better with every event you organize. Luckily.
that's I guess so.
And having the right wingman can also help.
That's true. I think
We
you're
share the
referring
stress.
to Andrew, who was your wingman and just brought you there. I think well done. Thank you, Andrew. Also for bringing some more people along with you.
Yeah, no, but I mean, as an event organizer, having a
Yeah.
wingman to share the stress is very helpful.
Oh yeah, that's true too. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But back to your question, I was very happy because we had almost 60 people who showed up to work with us during the day, who even stayed, like the last session finished somewhere in the afternoon, and then there was some time until the executive evening, and everyone stayed, and then we had additional people coming in.
It was interesting, I think, because we were told to meet at a certain time at a certain place, and we got there and there was no one, and then suddenly people started coming. And 15 minutes later, the bus of Eintracht Frankfurt entered, and
Yes.
that's how we were supposed to go to the stadium. And I think the bus was half to 3/3 full the moment that we left. All that in like 15 minutes. So that was very interesting.
Yeah, and it's like having this place close to the stadium, the Eintracht Lab,
Yeah.
someone said wow, it really makes a difference meeting in a special place in a
Absolutely. People are
special
taking
environment,
pictures of that, but of the logos.
and then being able to use the Eintracht team bus.
Yeah.
I think that was really special, and the atmosphere it creates. And the
Yeah.
one thing I remember is we had Nicole from Payment and Banking moderating the event, and then when she was finished, the people just grouped at one of the 5 tables, and then it suddenly became super quiet,
Yeah.
like in a classroom, where everyone started to
Sure.
work,
I was
super
focused.
focused and
Yeah.
concentrated. And this was such a goosebump feeling for me, because I felt like, okay, what we imagined this day should be like actually started to work. So I
Yeah.
guess that was the magic moment. And to see, okay, people were engaged, and lunch break, everyone still chatted about, okay, what's going on, what are the topic
Yeah.
we have, and then continued. Super amazing. And last but not least, I have to highlight, it was super nice to have Ben Leukert, our CIO,
Yeah, I thought that
there
as
at
well. It
the
was also
event
very open. I took that
as a
opportunity to
senior.
raise the question myself,
Yeah,
and he was very open in his feedback.
indeed. And the way he stressed how FiDA can become a platform for innovation. And I think he mentioned what you said before, that we cannot work on small islands, right? We have to collaborate and work together. And he stressed us a lot.
He also
And
stressed it needs to make money.
yeah, that was, he stressed like, yeah, otherwise.
But that makes sense. That makes so much sense, because that lack of remuneration was probably one of the reasons why open banking as we know today failed.
True. And it's super important, because we should not speak about FiDA as something, we have to do it, and then
Yep.
there's no return on invest, but about actual business opportunities. And I think the
Yep.
main difference is that there can be revenue channels through the schemes that have to be formed. But again, you would have to think about products customers would use. And I think it was mentioned at one of the tables that consent is king, and only, or was it even in your article maybe, that the ones who get the consent and to manage to engage customers over time, they will certainly win, and
Yeah.
in a long run, and build
No,
a
absolutely.
successful business model. But it is fine. I guess at the end, it's about envision what could be possible and start offering this data.
Yeah.
And that's why collaboration is necessary at the end of
Absolutely.
the day.
Thank you. In a few weeks, we will meet again, maybe by the publication of the podcast in a week. We'll meet again with another very usual suspect, Koen Adolfs of ABN AMRO. Very excited to see him again. What will be your topic there at Open Banking Expo?
I'm also excited to meet him again. So the topic is a panel. The topic is open finance at crossroads, challenges, models, and the idea basically is to bring a view on the market in the UK and the European Union together. So I would be talking about FiDA, where do we stand, and we have, I think all the other participants on the panel are from the UK. So the idea is to kind of change what is the progress in terms of open banking, what are the models, what are the opportunities, what can we actually learn from one or the other approaches.
Okay. Cool. Sounds a bit similar to the panel that I will be moderating there, except that mine is really a global one. We have participants from Central Bank of Brazil. We have someone from Australia, we have someone from the UK, and someone from the Middle East, also discussing the best practices in open banking, etc. I must say, I had one prep call so far. Brazil, they went really, really far. Very interesting to see how that went, and to very eager to discuss what lessons we can learn from Europe or in Europe from what happened in Brazil over there. So I hope that you will be in the audience day too as well.
Yeah, I see how you do this kind of advertising.
But maybe one last question. How do you look at the balance regulation versus innovation in the context of open banking and FiDA? And yeah, how do you look at the balance? Because you've been always going one step further with the API program. It was also applying regulations, of course, but was also looking at opportunities. I even remember your visit in the farm where you looked at other industries to see how to consume data and what can you do with it the moment that you start sharing much more. So how do you look at that balance, regulation, innovation?
That's nice you're referring to this video. Actually, let's do some advertisement for the video, Expedition Finance video. It's the video is about the intersection of data, and I think that's an interesting view of innovation, because in agriculture and farms nowadays, they collect a vast amount of data. And the question was, how can you combine this data with financial services? And well, so I think regulation and innovation don't need to compete. They can actually complete each other. Regulation can provide a structure, like for FiDA, it provides a structure with the schemes or standardized data. I think that's important.
And scale as well, I guess.
Say again?
And scale as well, I guess.
And scale, indeed, yes. And then innovation needs to happen, because you need to think about what could be potential use cases. What would consumer want? What could happen at the intersection of data, right? So we had this as an example at our FiDA Data Studios, that someone at the insurance table said, okay, we really need to have banks at our table because the interesting opportunities will arise at the intersection between banks and insurances. And I think it's this kind of thinking. So I think it's a perfect match, but you have to balance it.
Yeah. All right. Joris, thank you very much for your time, for your vision, and sharing that at our podcast. And we'll speak again very soon.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
It was nice talking to you today.
It was
See you
nice
in London.
Bye.
Bye-bye.